Closed captioning of this program is underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Good day and welcome to the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates Forum, a program produced in collaboration with WTJX TV for well over 35 years. It is our hope that through these programs, you, the voting public, will have a better understanding of each candidate running for elective office in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We invite you to look at all our programs for the 2024 election year right here on WTJX TV with candidates seeking office as a senator in the 36th legislature or as delegates for the Constitutional Convention. For the first time also, we are interviewing candidates for the boards of education and election. Although all the candidates for these positions were invited, not all responded or accepted the invitation. We are delighted to have here today 3 candidates running for the position on the Board of Education in the St. Croix District. This show will be 30 minutes long. I am Denise Singleton, a member of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, and I will serve as the moderator for today's program. The candidates have been informed in advance of the guidelines for the program. No candidate had access to the questions in advance. The first responder to each question will be rotated among the participants. Timing of a question will be announced in advance. Any comment directed specifically at a participant by another participant will be followed by a rebuttal of 60 seconds. A 50-second follow-up may be allowed. All are expected to be respectful of everyone else. So let's begin. I will ask each candidate to identify who they are and to state their name and ballot number. We will learn more about each as our discussion ensues. Let's start with the first candidate to my left.
Greetings, I'm Mary Peggy Moorhead, number 3 on the ballot.
Next.
Good day, my name is Terrell Alexandre, number 1 on the ballot.
Next.
Emanuela Perez Cassius, number 2 on the ballot.
Thank you. Now we're going to get started with you, Ms. Moorhead. I'm going to ask you the first question, and you will have 60 seconds to respond. What motivates you to run for a seat on this board? What is your understanding of what is necessary?
Thank you. First, let me say thank you to the WTJX and the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. I'm motivated to run for the board because it is a very important board. Many people are not knowledgeable of the power of the Board of Education. It sets the policies for the operation of the public school system, and it also has to really have oversight over the instruction, the curriculum, and the facilities also. My intention for personally being a part of the board is because I've noticed that there are things that are in our VI code that has not been adhered to, and they are important and necessary in order for the growth and development of our country. Specifically, I would point out that there are some subject areas that are important.
Okay, Mr. Alexandre.
I would also like to thank WTJX and the League of Women Voters for inviting me here to this forum. My interest for running for the Board of Education is I'm a product of public school, and nothing has changed from the time I left public school from 2008, and it has gotten worse. The same complaints from when I started schooling back in 1995 are still the same complaints that we have today. I do think the Board of Education can play an important role in shaping the future of the Virgin Islands, especially as we have these federal dollars that are rolling into the territory, that we can make change to improve our school functions. I do think that we need a education reform to implement these changes. So I'd like to thank you again.
Thank you. All right, next, Ms. Perez, you have 60 seconds. Your question is, why do you seek another term on the Education Board?
Thank you, Ms. Singleton, and thank you, WTJX, for allowing us this opportunity to be able to speak. I seek a second term on the 21st Board of Education because I understand that we are the difference. I understand that our Virgin Islands is made up of numerous and diverse people that should have the right to a free and appropriate public education that is governed and protected by the people of the Virgin Islands. I also want to consider the realities of today and make sure that everyone has access to this education, that individual civil liberties are considered, and of course, the value I have on the voice of my people.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. This next question, we're going to start with Mr. Alexandre, and you will have 50 seconds. What is your understanding of the responsibilities of this board? 50 seconds.
My understanding of the responsibility of the Board of Education, the Board of Education is responsible for various aspects of education, setting the policies, financial aid for students and teachers, also reviewing the schools and facilities to ensure that they're safe for the schools, oversight on public hearings for students and parents.
Thank you. Ms. Perez, you have 50 seconds. What are the responsibilities of this board?
The responsibilities of the Virgin Islands Board of Education is clear in Chapter 17 of the Virgin Islands Code. We have the right to advocate, we have the right to strengthen, and we have the right to ensure that we produce a level of oversight over the Department of Education and the services that we produce. But most importantly, we're about certification, ensuring that policies are updated, and ensuring that people have access to the type of education they would like to see.
Okay. Ms. Moorhead, you have 50 seconds. The question is, what is your understanding of the responsibilities of this board?
In addition to the items that were listed by the former two candidates, the one thing that I think is avoided or ignored is the responsibility of the courses that are supposed to be taught in the curriculum. We're in the 21st century, and it's been decades since there's been any adjustment or reform to the curriculum and instruction of the public school system. And as I pointed out, there are courses that are listed in Title 17 that have not been implemented that are important at this time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We will start with you, Ms. Perez. You will have 60 seconds for this next question. What talents or skills did you bring to the board during your tenure, and how were they demonstrated in what you accomplished on the board? 60 seconds.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. What talents or skills did you bring to the board during your tenure, and how were they demonstrated in what you accomplished on the board?
The talents and skills that I bring to the Board of Education and that I've brought in the last 4 years is truly around communication and connections, governing and policy creations, and information. I worked tirelessly to help to inform our SMARS report over the last 4 years and ensure that the document is updated with critical information so that legislative bodies and administrative bodies can make crucial decisions. I mentored and worked closely with many PTAs to ensure that they are empowered to utilize the policies to drive conversations in their schools. And of course, I mentored, educated, and worked with many of our participants in the Virgin Islands, whether they're children or adults. So communication and connection is my greatest skill, and governing and policy is my power.
Thank you. Ms. Moorhead, you'll have the next question. What talents or skills will you bring to the board, and how have they been developed or demonstrated in your professional life? You will have 60 seconds.
I'm an organizer. I do research. I am very much knowledgeable of the Title 17. And as I pointed out on my previous time on the board, I was very much in a position to make the members aware of the items of Title 17 that they were not aware of. I believe in transparency, in sharing information, and I believe in making the public know, and the parents in particular, as to what interests they should have and how they should perform themselves in communicating with the board. That does not necessarily happen on a regular basis.
Thank you. Mr. Alexandre, what talent or skill will you bring to the board, and how have they been developed or demonstrated in your personal life? You have 60 seconds.
My greatest talent, I think I would bring to the Board of Education would be bringing groups and individuals together. Education is not about just only the students. Education also affects teachers, principals, parents, community leaders, working together as a collaborative team to ensure that we achieve the goal, which is educating our students. I am a team player. I am willing to learn. But the overall goal is just to bring everybody to the table to have a discussion, sharing information in a timely fashion. That's key. Not waiting until the last minute to share the information, because that's usually what the issue is in the community. So just being a team player and bringing everyone together.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Moorhead, we'll start with you on the next question. How is the local Board of Education different from mainland boards? You have 50 seconds.
Okay. On the mainland, the boards of education have total authority and governance over the education system. Well, that does not exist in St. Croix, in the Virgin Islands. The board really is second, you might say, to the Department of Education, because even though it's supposed to hold the department accountable and make sure that it performs according to code, that does not necessarily happen because they're simply ignored. But that is the difference, in that the mainland boards have total authority, but the VI board does not.
Thank you. Mr. Alexandre?
I 100% agree with what Ms. Moorhead just stated. The main difference is the boards in the States are day-to-day operations, and the board here in the Virgin Islands they just set policies, financial aid, they do oversight of schools, but even with the oversight the board had, there is no, if nothing follows up, if nothing happens to it, the board can do a walkthrough, but it's not under the board purview to ensure that these stuff are corrected. They could come back and do a walkthrough again to make sure that whatever changes they requested was done, but there's nothing in the law that makes the board responsible for it.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Perez, we're going to ask you the same question. How is the local Board of Education different from mainland boards? You have 50 seconds.
Well, the points were made earlier by the candidates, but what's important to understand, and what I understand, is that we have the ability to change that structure. And that is where my advocacy work came in with my suggestions in the school management report to ensure that we put a level of strengthening on our system and a level of putting hiring back with our superintendents in the level in regards to the Board of Education, ensuring that school-based funding is identified in Title 17, to ensure that school managements continue to to have the resources they need directly from the people who are doing the work. So yes, the boards is different in the states than the Virgin Islands, but what's important to know is that we have the right and the power to make that difference. And with me on the board, I absolutely intend to advocate and push really hard for that change.
Ms. Moorhead, what policies need to be in place regarding sexual abuse of students? You have 60 seconds.
It's a matter of, to be perfectly honest, when it comes to abuse of children, my position has always been that every school, every high school at least, should have a psychologist on site in order for children to be able to have access to someone who they can be confidential in a report of an abuse. Because I have seen that our school counselors are not equipped to deal with those situations. And insofar as a policy, that would have to be something to deal with the social workers and the psychologists in order to understand the item and the issue, and in order to have a policy that would be of best effect.
Mr. Alexandre, the same question. You have 60 seconds.
I have a zero tolerance for sexual abuse. So anyone, even especially specific to our students, I know based on what my research I've done, I think the Board of Education, their policies that a student must report it directly to the school, the building administrator, or to a principal, anyone in that sort of authority. Once that is reported, that should be directed directly to the VIPD and the Department of Justice, and follow whatever laws are in our titles. In our Virgin Islands Code to deal with this matter. But that's something that we should take very seriously. We should be creating safe places at schools to ensure that our students are learning and not be afraid to come to school to learn. So I have a zero tolerance for sexual abuse.
Ms. Perez, what policies are in place regarding staff accountability in sexual abuse of students? You have 60 seconds.
Yes. Thank you so much, because I agree 100% with Mr. Alexandre when he says that schools should be a safe zone. And I have spent my entire life working for children and serving families in the Virgin Islands. From the classroom to the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, this is exactly what my passion is. And so for me, right now, the certification process in which we ensure that certain courses are taken for teachers need to entail that some of the courses is around conflict resolution, intervention, and providing that level of education so they understand what the law is in the Virgin Islands. And the laws in the Virgin Islands is who protect the people of the Virgin Islands. And we will ensure that our teachers have that level of knowledge each and every year during their certification.
I would like to rebuttal that in situation insofar as there was a situation existed in St. Thomas District with sexual abuse. The board did not go and do an investigation into what happened with the administration that did not forward the report. And that much was the responsibility of the Board of Education at this time. And that issue is still lingering, that no one has been held responsible for forwarding the report.
And I'd like to answer 60
50
seconds.
seconds.
50 seconds, no
50
problem.
seconds.
Ms. Moorhead's experience knows better, and she understands that the law has processes and steps, and therefore that investigation is still under investigation by the law. And the Virgin Islands Board of Education has been talking within committees, which I understand she doesn't have privy to now, so therefore she may not know, that ensures that we are putting things in place to better structure and support the people who protect our children day to day.
Okay. Ms. Moorhead, we're going to give you the next question. How can the board improve its review of school preparedness during the summer that would help prevent accidents to students and staff?
Well, the board can, first of all, it has a requirement that it must produce a school accountability management report that is due every June 15th. But what happens is after that board report is set out, submitted, there is no follow-up. There is no conversation with anyone or no follow-through in order to find out, well, what would the be addressed, how it will be addressed, when it will be addressed. And the board does have the authority to do that. The board has subpoena authority that it can call on anyone for any document in order to make sure that work is being done. Presently, too, the bullying policy is in place. The board is supposed to get a report from every school at a certain time in the year. It doesn't get that, and it's not asking for it.
Okay. Mr. Alexandre, same question. How can the board improve its summer review of school preparedness so that it would help prevent accidents to students and staff?
Basically, to respond back to your question, it should not be a summer review. It should be a year-round review. Continuous dialogue to ensure that whatever was discussed in the report that Ms. Moorhead discussed, that the corrections were made. You can't just write a report. Yes, writing a report is all nice and dandy, but we have to have some kind of follow-up to ensure that our students are protected. And even though you submit the report during the summer, understand that anytime it's like visiting a family member. Whenever you visit a family member house, that house is the cleanest when you're visiting them. But as soon as you leave, that may not be the case. So you have to have continuous follow-up to ensure that our students are protected.
Okay, Ms. Perez? You will have 60 seconds. How can the board improve its review of summer preparedness that would help prevent deadly accidents to students and staff?
One of the board's main responsibilities is to help inform legislation and the administration in the Virgin Islands. And we use the School Management Accountability Report to do that. Before I came on, our School Management Accountability Report was a subjection of stories that was written. Now our School Management Accountability Report includes information from all of our auxiliary agencies. We work tirelessly and effortfully to ensure that the voices are put into these spaces so the people who can make the decisions are clear. Everything from physical to curriculum is in this document, and it's not just from the members of the board, but it comprises of information from other agencies that have the oversight. Fire, DPNR, and Department of Health are all responsible for ensuring this process happens, and we continue to discuss that together in meetings and committees.
Thank you.
Clarification, because the School Accountability Report was
50 seconds, quickly.
Was something that is dictated in Title 17. What the candidate points out is that simply the board has been year by year improving in meeting the requirements of the report. So it's gotten to the point where it's getting all the agencies to give input, and now that has changed because the law has changed, because that has been eliminated, and the board is to have oversight of the maintenance and the repairs, but you have the new unit, which is the School Maintenance Construction Bureau.
I would argue the board is getting better and better because there's new faces and new spaces.
Okay. Now, each candidate will have 60 seconds for a closing statement to tell voters why they are a choice candidate for the Education Board. And we're going to start with Mr. Alexandre.
Good day again. I'm humbly asking your support on election day to be a member of the Board of Education. I'm number 1 on your ballot. Allow me to assist our students to improve their education process. I am a team player. I will work with everyone, the AFT, the school, the teachers, the PTAs. It's not just the Board of Education. It's a community. It's a community. We're looking for community results. So if you want elected me, we'll ensure that we move this process forward. Thank you.
Ms. Perez, you have 60 seconds to close.
Thank you. In 2020, I ran for the Virgin Islands Board of Education with one mission. I am going to show up and learn. I have done so. And a vote for number 2 on November 5th will ensure that we are strengthening district oversight. It will ensure that we are advocating for school-based funding, and it will ensure that we are strengthening the transparency between the department and the board to build a stronger system. Win, lose, or draw, in any fight, at the end of the day, Manuela is getting back up to continue to work. I am a Virgin Islander, and I ask humbly for your support on November 5th, number 2 on your ballot.
Ms. Moorhead, your closing.
Thank you. My mission, and I get a seat on the board, is to take the Board of Education, the CTEC Board, the Department of Education, and UVI to get them to work together to upgrade and improve the curriculum and instruction of the VI public school education system. It is, the instruction and curriculum is way behind. We're in the 21st century, we're dealing with climate change, we're dealing with gun violence, and we have things on the book that will address these things, such as conflict resolution, financial education, and all the different courses that are not being instituted, not being implemented. And I simply would like to be able to work with the different agencies, including the community, which the board refuses to do presently, and let us all improve our education so that we can have economic growth in the VI.
Thank you, candidates and viewers, and thank you, WTJX TV and staff, for today's program. The League of Women Voters hopes this program has helped with you, the voter, in knowing the candidates for the Education Board, and in so doing, inform your vote for November. The League reminds you that your vote determines the future of the Virgin Islands. Every vote does count. During elections, we often see an individual who barely makes the cut because a few more people did vote, or one who barely loses and wishes if only a few more persons had voted. So let your voice be heard by your vote. It's your right. Take it. Thank you for watching. I am Denise Singleton of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, saying vote early or vote on election day. Just vote.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Closed captioning for this program was underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.